Hi everyone, welcome to Back Fashions YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. Today we'll be learning how to make an off-shoulder gown and using this Ankara fabric to achieve this style. So here are the measurements needed to achieve this gown. You need the bust measurement, the under bust measurement, the round waist measurement, the hip measurement, the shoulder to nipple point, the shoulder to under bust, the front length of the person, and the back length, that's the back half length, the full length of the gown, and then the round shoulder measurement. It's very important also. So I'll start with drafting the upper part before we go ahead to draft the lower part. It's going to be an off-shoulder flared gown with cape around the neckline or around the shoulder. Okay, so to get started, I'll be placing my fabric of fold. I'm going to be making a straight bust here. It's going to be a straight bust here today. Okay, so to place my fabric on fold, so I've placed my fabric on fold to achieve the bust here. Okay, so to determine the amount of fabric I folded, I'm working with the upper part of the person now. The upper part, the biggest measurement there is 42, which is the bust measurement. So when you divide 42 by 4 to give you 10.5 and then plus 4 inches. So everything I have here is like 14 inches. You can work with that. It will work for you also. So now I'm going to be drawing my starting line. So here is my starting line. So because I'm making an off-shoulder dress, I'm placing my tape from -4. So I'm taking away 4 inches from the actual length, that's from the actual front length. So that's why I'm placing my tape from -4. So I'll go ahead to mark the bust point now. The bust point is 12 inches. The under bust point is 16.5. And then the half length of the person is 19 inches. So 19 inches plus half inch for joining. That's for sewing the lower part. So I'm going to draw out my lines. Okay. So now I have the bust line, the under bust, and the half length. Okay, which is the waistline now. So now next thing to do is to enter the nipple to nipple measurement. The nipple to nipple measurement is 8 inches. When you divide it by 2 plus half inch, that's 4.5. So I'll go ahead and mark my 4.5 now. So here is our 4.5 inches. Okay. So now the first thing to do now, it's an off the shoulder dress I'm making. So whatever your shoulder measurement, there are two ways to get the shoulder measurement of that's the off the shoulder measurement that you're supposed to be using. That's for your front piece. Now, it is either you take the measurement of the person from one strap of the person's bra to the other. That's the strap of the bra is supposed to be very close to the midpoint of the armhole. Or you take your shoulder measurement. The shoulder measurement, as usual, is divided by 2. So this shoulder measurement is 18 inches. When you divide it by 2, you have 9 inches. So I'm going to be subtracting 2 inches from that 9 inches. So that will leave me with 7 inches. So here is my 7 inches. I'm subtracting 2 inches from the shoulder measurement. So that's 7 inches plus half inch for joining the sleeve. So that's 7.5. So remember, I came down by 4 inches. So here's my 4 inches. So now you want to get the remaining part of the person's armhole. For bust 42, to get the armhole, you're going to say the bust, for everybody, you say the bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5 will give you the person's armhole measurement. So for bust 42, the person's armhole is 8.5. So I'm placing my tape from -4. So here is my 8.5. Okay, so I'll still come here to bring this same 7.5 here so that I know that this is the armhole for the off-shoulder dress. Okay, So now I'm going to enter the bust measurement of the person here. So the bust divided by 4 is 10.5, because this is where the armhole measurement will stop. Okay, so the bust divided by 4 is 10.5. So I'm going to leave it here at this point. Then we'll go ahead and treat this side. So because I'm making a straight bust here, okay, so now you also want to get the upper bust point. So it is that is the distance from the bust point to the under bust. You add half inch to it to get your upper bust point. So now in this case, this woman's own is 4 inches and 4.5 inches. So I'll go up by 5 inches to get a upper bust point. So here we are now. So now I'm going to enter the bust measurement here. The bust divided by 4 is 10.5. So now you want to do your dart intake on the underbust and on the waistline. What determines the dart intake on the underbust and the waistline is the difference between the bust and the underbust. So in this case, the person's underbust is 36 inches. When you divide 36 by 4, it will give you 9 inches. And then for the bust, then it will give you 9 inches. And then the bust divided by 4 is 10.5. So the difference is 1.5. So that's what I'll be using as my dart intake. So I'll mark 1.5 on this side, and then I'll do the same thing on this side. So I'm bringing the same thing here to the waistline, and then I'm also bringing it to this side. Can you see what we have? So if you don't want it to be really grippy, you can use 1 inch, but this just works for almost everybody. It gives you what you are looking for. It gives that and the bust that tight. That it tightens the under bust part and lifts up the bust point. Okay. So now I'm going to connect my lines. So I'm now bringing my curved ruler, and then I'll come down by like half of an inch from here and then curve it to meet this point. So I'll do the same for this side. So here on the upper bust point, you need to also tighten the upper bust point. So I'm going to be taking away half inch. You can do half inch, you can do 3/4 of an inch. I prefer to use half inch. It gives what I'm looking for. So here is my half inch. So you don't want this line to be too sharp, okay? So can you see what we have? So I'm just going to take it up now like so. So now I've taken my dart. So you can see that I took the dart all the way up to the starting line. So meaning now that I have lost, I'm losing 1 inch on this point now. I'll come back here and replace that 1 inch. If you don't replace it, it means that the shoulder measurement is short. Now, you remember we entered 7.5 here. So if you don't replace it, you're going to have a big shortage. So I'm replacing back that 1 inch here. So I'll come here now and see this. I'll also come back here to replace it. So now what this means is that after replacing this, remember After replacing this, remember that I have already added my sewing allowance to the nipple to nipple point. So already I have my half inch for joining here. Okay, so I've replaced what I'll be losing from here. So I'll just go ahead and now start entering my actual measurement. So now this is the actual armhole of the person. That this is where the shoulder line now of the person is. So this first line now, we can go ahead to ignore it. Whatever it is that is your dart, please replace it back. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so this is it here now. So now this bust measurement now that I entered here will have to be increased with the same 1 inch, because that's the same thing I have here. So it will come here now. Okay, so now I'll bring in my curved ruler to draw the armhole measurement. or to draw the angle of the person. So can you see what we have here now? So the bust divided by 4 is 10.5 plus your sewing allowance of 2 inches. So I'll go ahead and add my 2 inches here. So here, the underbust divided by 4 is what? Is 9 inches. 9, and then we'll go ahead to replace the dart that we're taking away from here, which is going to be 3 inches. Because we took 1.5 on both sides. So now we'll go ahead to add our 2 inches for sewing allowance. So the same measurement I have here, the same thing I have here is what I'm going to also have here. So I'm just going to bring it down. So if the person's waist measurement is different, please enter the person's waist measurement here and then go ahead to replace your darts. Okay, so I'm going to connect it to this point and then I'll bring it here. So I'm opening up here by half of an inch. This is just so that I don't have this slanted shape here. So this is just to give ease to the under part of the armpit. Okay, so this is it for my, that's for the front pieces or for my front pattern. So because remember that here we have our front length and we have the back length. This person, the difference between her front length and the back length is 2 inches. So I'll come here and take away 2 inches from the side here. If you don't take it away, that means the back will be low, so your dress will not sit well. So I'm just going to slant it to meet the first dart leg. Can you see what we have here? So it has met the first dart leg. Okay, so now I'll bring in my scissors and quickly cut. So just watch carefully the way I'm cutting. So I didn't talk about adding half inch for my turning the lining at the upper part of the neck. This is because by the time I turn it with half inch, it will bring me to 4.5, which as the shoulder will come down with 4.5, which is what I am okay with. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and do this. So I'm moving my darts. Okay, so you want to confirm and be sure that you have your 7.5 here. So I placed my, now take a look, I placed my patterns, that's the center piece, half inch on top of the side piece because that's what I'll be using to sew it. Can you see that I still have my 7.5, which is the person's actual measurement at the off shoulder area. So if you don't do that, if you don't replace back that 1 inch I took away as your dart, there's going to be a shortage and you don't want to have that. So just make sure that you replace it back so that it brings you back to your shoulder measurement minus 2 inches. So now I'm going to do the neckline. It's going to be a sweetheart neckline. So I'll come down from this point. Remember that my tape is on 4 inches. I want to have a neck depth of 6 inches. So by the time I sew, it will bring me to 6.5, and then here, of course, by the time I sew, it will bring me to 4.5. So I'm going to just mark the sweetheart neckline like so. So this is what we have. I'll go ahead to cut it out. So this is it. So our front pieces are ready. So we'll go ahead to draft out the back piece. So I've placed my fabric on fold for the back piece. Okay. For the back, I'll be having my zip allowance. I use a zip allowance of 1.5 inch. So I'll go ahead to mark my 1.5 inches. So the back length is 16.5. So I'm going to be placing my tape, the same thing, from -4 like I did for the front. So here's our 16.5, then plus half inch for joining. So that has brought us down to 17. So to determine the amount of fabric unfold is always the biggest part of the place you are working with. So it's the bust I also used, okay? So that's 42 divided by 2 by 4 plus 2 inches. So that's what I have here. So now go ahead to enter the shoulder measurement, which is the off shoulder measurement. That's 7.5 like I did for the front. That's the shoulder minus 2 inches plus half inch. So that's why I have my 7.5. So I'll place my tape from here and then I'll mark the person's armhole, which is 8.5. I'm using this 4 inches because by the time I turn with lining here, I'm going to lose half inch. So that means the shoulder is going to be off with 4.5. Please, let's get it right. Okay, so I'll come here and bring down the same 7.5. This is to achieve a straight line. Okay, so now the bust measurement, I'll be entering it on the chest line. The back is really simple, it's just the bust measurement and then the waist measurement. So the bust measurement is 10.5, so I'll mark my 10.5 here and then go ahead to add my 2 inches for sewing allowance. And then on the waistline, the waist measurement is 36 inches. 36 divided by 4, that's 9 inches, plus 1 inch for that, and then 2 inches for sewing allowance. So here is my back piece. So can you see I'm connecting it to this point? Okay, so now I'm going to draw my armhole. So the armhole will stop at this first point measurement. So that's the essence of always marking it so that you know where the curve will stop. So can you see how it is? So at the back here, the center back here, I'm going to be taking away half inch to eliminate bulge because our backs are smaller than the front. So if you don't take away that part, it will zip, your back will bulge at the zip area. So you want to just take it, you can take it and stop on the chest line, or you can take it all the way up. So I'm taking mine all the way up to the neckline. So having done that, I'll come down here now. I want to mark the neckline of the person or the back neckline of the user. I want it to be rounded at the back. Remember, I placed my tape from -4. I'm going to go down by 2 inches, so which is going to give me a neckline of 6 inches. Okay, let me go down by 1.5 so that it will give me a neckline of 6 inches when I'm done because I'll turn it with half inch. So I'll bring my curved ruler, this part, and then I'll mark it. So here we are. So we're done with the back, so we'll go ahead to cut it out. So I'm removing my bulge now. So you have to cut this and throw it away. So now for the fact that we have cut this and thrown it away, we are left with 1 inch. It doesn't mean that my zip allowance is now 1 inch. It's still going to be 1.5. So meaning it will come inside here. So to achieve my 1.5, so can you see that the half inch extra is coming into the actual measurement of the person? This will help to eliminate bulge. We are smaller at the back. The spinal cord is inwards. So this is now my 1.5 here. So this is also my 1.5 here. So let me connect it. So this is now my new zip allowance. Can you see that it came into the actual measurement? So we'll continue with our cutting. Okay, so here's our back piece. So bring our front piece so that you can see how they will match up. So these are our back. So by the time we place it here, can you see that the sides that will be joined together, they are matching up? Can you see? So that's why you must take out that difference between the front and back. The front is longer because we have our bust as women in front, so that automatically increases the front length as compared to the back length. Okay, so these are our pieces. So the next thing now to do is to cut out our off the shoulder sleeve. Okay, so to draft our off the shoulder sleeve, I've placed my fabric already. So I'm marking my starting line. So now you put into consideration the round armhole and the round shoulder of the person. In this case, is 43 inches. So remember that for our front piece and our back piece, we have 7 inches on fold. That's the shoulder measurement, is 7 inches on fold. When you open it, of course, that's 14 inches. The back has the same thing. They added our sewing allowance, which made it 7.5. So you're going to say 43, which is the round shoulder measurement, minus 28. So when you subtract it, you're going to have 17. Let's subtract it and see. So 43 minus 28 will give us 15, okay, not 17. So now we have, that means we have 15 left to achieve the round shoulder measurement. So we're going to be dividing this 15 into 2 because that 15 means that that's what is going to be left for your sleeve. So you're going to divide the 15 into 2, one for the left and one for the right. That's 7.5. So 7.5 divided by 2 will give us 3 3/4. Okay, so I'll come here and mark my 3 3/4, then add half inch for joining the sleeve to the off shoulder dress. Okay, so here it is. So I'm placing my tape from -4. So here is our -4. Remember, just like we did on the bodies, with -4, and then I'll go ahead to mark 8.5, which is the armhole of the person. So I'll mark the 8.5, and then I'll come down by 1.5 from this point. So this is going to be the hemming allowance of my sleeve. This is where the sleeve will stop. That 8.5, which is the end of the person's armhole, plus the hemming allowance of 1.5. So I'm going to bring this same 4 1/4 that I have here. That's half of the sleeve measurement plus the sewing allowance of half inch. So I'm bringing it to this point now. So now that I have this, on this line is where I'll be entering the person's round arm hole, the round arm measurement, upper round arm measurement. And for this woman, the upper round arm measurement is 15 inches. 15 divided by 2 will give us 7.5. And then I'll go ahead to add 2 inches for my sewing allowance. So this is it the for the off shoulder sleeve. So I'm going to connect this point to this point. So I'll just slant it to this point. You don't want to take it too deep because it's an off the shoulder. Remember that you have taken away 2 inches already from your measurement, so which has taken you inwards. So you don't want to make this one go inwards too much. You can use your armhole curve and just place it slanted like this. So like I used my free hand, can you see the way it is? If you place it like this, it will go in too deep, which some people may want to do that, which is still not bad. Can you see how it is? So you don't want to go too deep, but I'm going to be using this part because I don't want to go too deep. This will be more comfortable for the person compared to this one. This will be too deep because this is a regular armhole for dresses with a proper shoulder that you didn't go deep. So you just come out slightly. Okay. So if you want to know the measurement from here to here, it's 1.5. That's to this point, is 1.5. Okay, instead of the normal way we go in by 1 inch. So we need 2 of these sleeves. Okay, so can you see this is how the sleeve is going to be? So I'll cut the second one and show us the next thing to do. The front is always smaller than the back, but by the time you're sewing it is going to match up. Okay, so this is it. So now the next thing is to cut our cape. Okay, so to cut the cape, I'm going to be attaching to the neckline. So these are my front pieces. This is the side center piece and this is the side piece. I'll be overlapping it with 1/2 inch, which is what I'll be using to sew it together. So for the sleeve, I'll still go ahead to overlap it with 1/2 inch, which is the sewing allowance also. For the back piece, I'll still go ahead to overlap it with 1/2 inch, which is also the seam allowance. This is to enable me get the actual shape of my cape. Can you see what I have here? So it's not going to be, the cape is not supposed to be rounded. It's supposed to follow this shape. So it will come this way and curve with the sweetheart neckline, be straight on this part and go down on this part. So that is why you need to place them together. You may want to sew them together before you go ahead to cut it, but this is still very okay. But if you decide to sew it, there is no problem. But I'm okay with what I'm doing now because it will still give you the perfect result. So that's why I'm overlapping it. So just assume that I've sewn them together. So after pinning it, I'll just take it away and then bring in my fabric so that I'll place it and trace out this side that I'll be using to achieve the cape. So I'll go ahead now and place my patterns, as in my fabric. That's the front pieces, the back piece, and all that as I pin them together. So I'll come here now and place this. This is the back. This is my sleeve. Can you see what we have? So can you see? So I placed it 1/2 inch on top of 1/2 inch. Okay? So can you see? So I'm going to mark the shape out now. This um cape is not going to go into the zip allowance. See where my zip allowance is? So I'm going to be starting from this point now. So I'm going to mark this shape now. This my back side. This is for the sleeve area, and then this is for the front neckline. Okay, so having marked out this shape, you must put into consideration the length you have left, because the sleeve length I have here is 6 inches. 1 inch is 1.5 inches for my hemming allowance. So you need to be sure that the cape can cover the sleeve, because we don't want the sleeve, we want the off shoulder sleeve to be hidden under it. So I need to be sure that it can cover it up, so you can see where my fabric stop, which is okay. All right, so I'll remove this part. So this is the front side and this is the back side. So I'll go ahead and measure now. I want to have a length of 6.5 inches for the cape. So I'm going to be marking 6.5 inches round, or 6 inches, since my cape, by my sleeve, by the time I sew, I'll be left with 4.5. So this is my 6 inches, 6 inches. So here is our 6 inches. So we'll come to this side. We're going to have the same 6 inches. Remember that by the time we are done sewing, if you want yours to be longer, it will be, you can make it 6.5 or 7 inches. So remember that by the time we are done sewing, you leave us with 5.5. This 6 inches is including this plus my zip, seam allowance. That's my joining allowances. So by the time I'm done, I'll be left with 5 inches cape. So we'll go ahead and connect it like this. So for this cape, it's going to have a V shape at the neckline. So see where the front neckline stops, okay? So I'll come in here by 3 inches and then slant the line. This is to achieve the V shape that I want to have. That's like an upside down V in front here. So this is it. So you also do the same thing for the back. You come in here too by the same 3 inches like I've done. So, and then I'll slant it also. So now it's time to cut out the cape. So here is my front. So here is the back also. I haven't done this. You can see that here is my front. We are looking alike. So you can just come here. I'll notch the back so that I know that this is the back so that you don't interchange it. You have to be very careful with this. And then I'm going to notch this part. This is the side for the sleeve. Okay, so let's take our measurement so that we can confirm. Can you see that this side, from this sharp point to this sharp point, I have exactly my 7.5, so which is minus the sewing allowance. I hope it is clear. This is minus the sewing allowance, so this part is the sleeve part. So I'm just going to notch this part too, and then I'll come here and notch this part too. So okay, so I need two of this because one, I need two more of this. One will be the lining and this one will be the main fabric. So this is what we're going to have. Can you see the sweetheart shape? Can you see? Then look at the V shape. Of course, then this one goes to the back like so, and then also to the back like so, and also forming its own V shape at the back. Can you see? It's that simple. If you follow my illustration carefully, you're going to get it right. Can you see the sweetheart shape here? Okay, so that's it. So I'll cut the second, that's the linings for them. I'm going to do that off the camera.